we're back from the Sereno Cigar Company studio in North Carolina. Welcome to another impromptu Prime Cuts. And Prime Cuts is what I would call it's kind of a sandbox. It's an experimental wing of our primetime shows where I'm able to kind of test out some technology, test out some formats, and the best way I find to do it is to basically go live on a more of a raw show as opposed to the primetime or primetime special edition shows, rather than have those shows be the guinea pig. Work through a few of the kinks, so to speak, here. And there was a little kink I actually needed to take care of before this episode of Prime Cuts. So what do we bring to the table tonight? Well, last week we drank a really special soda. I drank a very special soda, and it's the Farrah Fawcett soda. Now, this week, one of the things I kind of fixed was the camera, because you were kind of seeing an inverse proportion. But tonight, you can actually see the camera up close, and we got Farrah Fawcett soda. So we will be giving away Farrah Fawcett soda, this cream soda. Check out the Prime Cuts. It's on the YouTube or the Cigar Coop page as well. And we'll certainly be giving away some Farrah Fawcett soda. And tonight, we're going to try another soda, and I'll get to it after we take care of some housekeeping. This is Yes Bacon Soda. And what I'll kind of say, starting off right off the bat, is we were talking about doing the bacon soda show, I think, on Monday. And I think it was coincidental that Fred Rui, who is, I consider, probably one of the most preeminent bacon experts in the country, he's launching some great T-shirts, I think. So if you check out Nomad and his page, you can get some great Nomad bacon T-shirts, long overdue. But this was coincidental. We were going to do the bacon soda tonight. So all good, and that's real exciting here. We'll do a little housekeeping along the way on a few things, inform you of some things that are going on Cigar Coop and Primetime over the next couple of weeks. And then what we'll actually do is we'll get into drinking the bacon soda. And yes, we will be giving away bacon soda tonight as well. So I will find a way to get this bacon soda shipped to one lucky winner, maybe two. We'll see. But we have a few iterations of the bacon soda. But also, since this is kind of unscripted, I have not drank the bacon soda yet. So I can't, last week I drank the Farrah Fawcett soda for the first time. I have not drank the bacon soda at all. So it may be terrible for all I care. One housekeeping item before we kind of start. Next week, I'll do another Prime Cuts, and we'll actually brew up actually, that's the wrong coffee. We'll brew up, yes, the rumor-free, teaser-free coffee, the dark roast. So we will brew that up next week, and I may try a different set to do this show from next week. And I hate calling it a show because it's not really a show. It's a sandbox. It's an experiment, but I'm trying to make it worthwhile for folks. But yes, this is the Mexican and Sumatra dark roast. If you're a dark roast cover, I think this coffee came out really, really good. It's one of the best dark roast coffees I've had. The other coffee, of course, is the Coop's Kona blend, which is a combination of Nicaraguan and Kona coffee. There's a lot of Kona coffee. You can go to www.cigar-coop.com/coffee and order your coffees from Lane Coffee. And like I said, I love this dark roast so much, I put the philosophy name on it. And rumor-free, teaser-free, it's a philosophy. I make that real clear. Some folks may not understand that, but it's something that, it's not just a slogan. It's a slogan I love, don't get me wrong, but it's a way of life for me, so to speak. So, and, it was interesting this week because I live in the North Carolina area, and, we talk about this notion of fake news, so to speak. And, I like to say we had rumor-free, teaser-free before there was fake news, but kind of an interesting thing happened. I think on Monday, there was the eclipse that happened. And I live in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, which was kind of north of the totality line that was kind of sweeping down from, let's try this. All right. Yeah, there we go. Sleeping like southeast in the U.S. And the eclipse, so we didn't have a total eclipse in Charlotte. It was actually, it hit Columbia, South Carolina, which is about 90 miles south. And that's where my oldest daughter and her husband live. So my wife and my two youngest boys made the trek down to Columbia, South Carolina to go see it. Now, folks, yeah, a lot of folks know I have a pretty busy schedule. I do have a day job, and so I am pretty busy. But to be honest with you, I had no desire to go drive 90 miles to see 2 minutes. But what was interesting is in the Charlotte area, there was a lot of eclipse fever. I mean, this was one of these things that I wasn't into the eclipse, but someone in my age, there's certain things that happen that I think people remember. The bicentennial in 1976 was a big thing. Hey, Bob. Hey, John. The 1976 bicentennial was big. The 100th anniversary of the Statue of Liberty was big. Y2K was big. And I think this eclipse thing was obviously a big thing. But how does this fit in with what I was talking about, rumor-free and teaser-free and fake news? To be honest with you, we really didn't get much of this eclipse in Charlotte. Now, you went down to Columbia. I get it. You got to see the totality line. If you had some, I didn't have glasses either, but if you had the glasses, you saw a little more. But to be honest with you, it was like completely unimpressive in the Charlotte area. And I think the media, the news people were trying to hype up that, I think a lot of local news especially was hyping up that Charlotte was going to be a big hub for this eclipse. So, and I think that was a way to kind of get people tuned into it, so to speak. But I think they hadn't, I mean, if this would happen again, and living about 90 miles north of the totality line, I just don't think a lot of people will buy into it the second time. And if it ever I mean, it's not going to happen in this area again. It will happen somewhere else in our lifetime. So, yeah, and you got to see, like I said, I'm not saying it wasn't cool, but we didn't get, I mean, they were very clear that, I think they was talking about how we were going to get like 98% of this thing in Charlotte. It really didn't do much. It really didn't do much. But it sure beat the political shit that goes on Facebook. I'll actually say that straight out. So, because I'm tired of everyone trying to convince me either that Donald Trump's a lousy president or Hillary Clinton would have been a lousy president or whatever, and enough of it, let's smoke cigars. I mean, so it was a refreshing change, even though I think there was a bunch of fake news here with the eclipse. But interesting event, so to speak, in the Charlotte area. And I did not smoke a cigar during the eclipse. That was a big question I had. What a lot of folks, did I smoke? No, I didn't. I actually was working my day job, so I actually couldn't do it. Nor did like I said, I didn't have the glasses either. So, but it was, like I said, it was kind of one of those, I think I'll remember what I was doing that afternoon, which was sitting, in my office and doing some regular work, just waiting to see if we were going to have this great event, which I didn't have. So I am lighting up tonight the new Underground Sun-Grown. Why I wrote up the Underground Sun-Grown is I really don't have a reason, but actually I do have a reason. We actually have some big things happening on the Cigar Coop schedule, and I also noticed that the folks at Drew Estate have their very own podcast on the Drew Diplomat application, and it was hosted by Dirty Fabian Ziegler, and he did a great job on that podcast. I like the fact that companies are doing their own media stuff. I think it's a really good thing to do. If you read my editorial on IPCPR this week, I encouraged IPCPR to start doing more in the way of self-produced content and don't rely on the independent media. I think the independent media has a place to do things, but certainly I think what Drew Estate's doing is a very smart move, having their own content. And what we're real excited about, and I'll go through the schedule at the end of the show. Drew Estate's going to be doing two big shows on primetime. Drew Estate is coming to primetime I'll actually tell the second show first, and then I'll tell the first show. So the second show, October 26th, 10 p.m., Dirty Fabian Ziegler will be from, and he's now handling the Acid brand. And if you haven't heard Fabian, you got to hear Fabian. This guy's a very passionate guy. He's awesome. I met him at IPCPR. And whether you like acid or not, I think he's a great part of the cigar lifestyle. Thank you very much, Bo, for the kind words. And then on September 14th, Master Blender Willie Herrera, who I have not interviewed before. So I kind of get to check that box off as well. Big thanks to Sam Morales, and Joe Groh of the Drew Estate team. They really came through to get some big shows for primetime. When I go through the schedule, I think at the end of the show, and I don't want to kind of break the rhythm, it is going to be, I think we have some of the best scheduling right now coming up in the industry right now. So I'm real excited about that. So great things coming from our friends at Drew Estate. So definitely check out the Drew Diplomat. Check out their new podcast on there as well. And I'm writing up the Underground Sun-Grown, so to speak. I mentioned the Cigar Coop IPCPR wrap-up that did occur this week. And I've done a few wrap-up shows over the past few weeks. But to do an IPCPR wrap-up, and I love doing the wrap-up shows with my media buddies. I think it's something I look forward to every year. And you know, Aaron hosted this year's from kind of our perspective on developing palates. You know, there's a lot of thoughts that we have as immediate, what I would call knee-jerk reaction from the trade show. And I think there was a lot of the stuff that I said was relatively valid. I mean, I don't take back anything I kind of said there. And there were a lot of things that we talked about on that show that I talked about in that particular article. At the same time, there were other things I think that as kind of the dust settled from the trade show and as I kind of got a chance to look at things objectively, I saw some interesting things happen, you know, or just some kind of things that I would say made me think and reflect a little more on the trade show. And I covered a few of these things in the post-game report, which I'd encourage you folks to check out. So, you know, you heard me talk probably about Placencia. You heard me talk about some of the packaging changes. I've kind of been critiquing the innovation at the show. There's a couple of points I just want to mention that I talked about in the trade show here. I talked about, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but one thing that I kind of started, as I started kind of debriefing with IPCPR, I started talking to some people in the industry, and there were a lot of people that, in particular, some companies that were concerned about the TAA and how it's affecting IPCPR, which I kind of thought was a little unusual. And I've been critical of the TAA at times, but I think, you know, ultimately they do some great things as some great retailers there. So, you know, I think they could market their cigars a little better, but that's really a kind of a nitpicking. But I was surprised to start to hear this from a few people. And really with the feedback I heard from there's companies that go to the TAA every year, and they put basically good deals together for the TAA retailers to buy in large quantities. And these deals are very good. And the group, they're able to collectively buy cigars at a really good price, and they're able to do that. But some of the manufacturers who aren't going to the TAA dance were concerned this year that even some of these big TAA retailers were killing their budget at the TAA. So when it came IPCPR time, there was less budget to deal with. And I thought that was kind of an interesting point. That now, what I said in the article very clearly is I have no quantifiable numbers to say if that's true or not. So I'm not saying it's true. What I'm saying is that perception was out there, and I heard some of the feedback from I'd say, I'm not talking one or two. I heard it from quite a few manufacturers who weren't there this year. So that was just kind of one point that I made, so to speak. I talked a little about, I was a little surprised when I kind of looked back that, and everyone knows I was a little critical of Rudy Giuliani's speech, but I was still surprised there was very few media guys that covered the Giuliani speech. I know a lot of guys don't cover legislation, but I was still surprised because that's probably the biggest speaker we've had at the IPCPR since I've gone, and certainly I would have liked to have seen just some coverage of that. Not asking people to get political or anything now. I had my issues with the speech, Don't get me wrong. I think it was a terrible job by Rudy Giuliani, who I have very high expectations for, and I think I'm a Rudy fan, and I still am. But that was a horrible speech. That was not what was needed at the IPCPR. But IPCPR, great job going out there and getting an A-list guy, and we've talked about that on the show a lot. So I made a comment about that as well. And then I mentioned a few other things, such as I think IPCPR should actually produce their own content. And I gave some examples of other trade associations that are doing that. I talked about that. I think they need to make their content available to people who are members of IPCPR who aren't at the trade show, so they could share in the education. Sometimes there's personal reasons why people can't go to the trade show, and they shouldn't miss out over that if they're paying members. So that's something I would like to see as well. And Bo, yeah, Rubio should have been the speaker. My only concern is having a politician in there. I think ultimately you're going to get some politics. But I agree. Rubio understands the issues. I think he's the best ally we have right now in the business. Totally agree. And this is not a Democrat or Republican thing with me. This is about cigars. I think a lot of guys agree with that. We're all about the cigars. Saying hi to my buddy Victor out there. Hey, Victor. How you doing? So we talked there's a bunch of stuff in that article. And you could definitely check that out on cigar-coop.com. It's under the IPCPR thing, and you can go into the post-game report. I'm still wrapping up some coverage on some things IPCPR related over the next week or so. So just stay tuned. I'm going to try to wind this up by Labor Day. Last year I went to September 20th, which was long. But there's a lot to dissect. We're also upping the feature stories this year significantly. So we do a series called Spotlights, and they're not what I call booth reports. I don't really like reporting on the booth and the furniture, but I try to come up with a theme with each of these things, and that kind of takes a while to do it. I can easily just do a dump on this is what they had at the booth, and I could go deep, but I think we have the individual product reports that are already handling that. But what was the theme? And there's a few that came out this week that have been some of the bigger ones I've worked on, which is, and I'm curious for folks' feedback as well, the Romacraft and the CLE booths, which I think we saw some interesting things happening with both of those companies this week. So definitely check out the IPCPR coverage on Cigar Coop. We will be bringing it to an end probably around Labor Day, so to speak. Folks know, Labor Day is coming up, and of course we lost Jerry Lewis, passed away at the age of 91. The Labor Day telethon growing up for a lot of us was, before you went back to school, you watched Jerry Lewis, and Jerry Lewis would go on there and say, give me the money, give me the money. And he would, he from the MDA, and that was just an absolute tradition. Jerry Lewis was on Sunday night into Monday in my house, and whether you like Jerry Lewis or not, we were watching Jerry Lewis in there. Sad. There's a kind of an interesting story with this too. My grandma Ethel, rest in peace. She used to kind of say when I was a kid I sounded like Jerry Lewis, and it's so kind of you always remember. Yeah, I hated it when my grandmother said I sounded like Jerry Lewis. I still sound like Jerry Lewis. But the interesting thing is, when I was kind of getting together with the guys from Atlanta and talking with, building the partnership with Gary Layden in particular and Nick on Smooth Doors Radio, the first thing Gary kind of said to me, he brought up that Jerry Lewis thing, that I sounded like Jerry Lewis, and he busted my balls on it to this day. But it kind of made a connection there because I thought of my grandma Ethel in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn, and being able to, she called me Jerry Lewis, he called me Jerry Lewis. He saw something that no one had said to me in over 40 years. My grandmother died in I think it was 1976 she died. So Gary thought he was busting my balls, but he actually kind of touched me in a different way, so to speak. That's a bad choice of words, but so there was kind of a connection there. But so Jerry Lewis telethon, we lost Jerry Lewis. And we're losing. These guys. Unfortunately, we're all getting older, so life goes on. And I'm Will Cooper. I'm in the Sereno Cigar Company studio doing an impromptu Prime Cuts episode, so to speak. Want to switch gears, kind of talk about another topic. And, I wasn't going to bring this one up, and I regretted it the moment I typed it, but there is a couple of things I want to talk about. Folks know Steve Saka's question of the day. And boy, that's like bait click. Because man, he'll put something up there. We've used Steve Saka's question of the day on Primetime a couple of times. There's some thought-provoking stuff out there. The problem is it's painful because once you comment on there, there's about 5 or 6 of these guys who just start an endless stream of comments. Great guys, but endless. And so the second I commented today, I regretted it, and then I regretted the second comment I made, which was, and nothing that was bad said, although I was a little surprised about some of the feedback I got on the first comment. But like I said, I was just regretting that, man, my notification started blowing the hell up today. But I regretted it the second. So Steve Saka put a question out there about pet peeves of retailers, right? And yep, Steve is an awesome guy, by the way. I just smoked Todos Los Dias today at the cigar shop in Monroe, North Carolina. You're definitely a sponsor of the show. But they got Todos Los Dias, and they need to check it out. But anyway, the question was, what are pet peeves of retailers? I have a big pet peeve of retailers in that I think most of them are good guys and they do good business. But I've had a lot of content stolen from retailers. Namely, I've had photos, but more so words, which have been used to. Where are the sad faces on that? But it's a serious problem when that happens. And here's the thing that is really disturbing about it. I have never denied anyone the use of a photo or words. When I say it, if you ask me for it, you will get it. And you'll be attributed. So this is not a case. But when you don't ask permission, there we go. Look at some sad faces. That's theft. And it's in particular, I hate to say, it's been a problem with the retailers more than anybody else. I've had occasionally, and look, I'm going to be honest with you. When I was with Stogie Geeks, we had a couple of guys working for us who actually took a photo from the Stogie guys. After we told them not to take photos from anyone else, they went and did it. And frankly, I was on the other end of that phone call with Patrick Simmons, having to explain that, and I was incredibly pissed. So it was embarrassing for me because I totally respect what those guys do, and Patrick couldn't have been better about it. But I had to take the blame for that. Yeah, I had a guy working, but I had to take the blame for that. But I don't think it was maliciously done on our end. But we had mentioned do not take photos. The photo was taken. So, and again, this is our intellectual capital. This is how. If I'm going to meet my expenses, and I don't make a lot of money on this, but meet my expenses, I got to be able to show web traffic. When you start duplicating content, it hits the web traffic. I was surprised at some of the comments I saw today. Some comments, guys understood it. Other guys, I was surprised that everyone that shouldn't have been a thread of 40 comments. That should have been basically a bunch of thumbs up, you're right. But it's been a big problem. I got to be honest with you, it's been a big problem. And it's not something that, hey, look, every time I see one of these retailers put up a video of someone in the humidor stealing something, and everyone's like, what a horrible, horrible thing. It absolutely is. It's a horrible thing. No, and theft is a horrible thing. But I've never seen anyone look out for any online media guy with our stuff being stolen, except maybe a few guys, right? And there's some loyal fans we have out there to do it, and other media guys. So I'm not saying that we have some, but where is, so I have a tough time being sympathetic for that because, and when I'm saying I had thefts, I've had things stolen, it's at least between 30 and 40 times it's happened in the last 8 years. So that's not a small number. But like I said, that if someone calls me and they need it, we'll give it to them, and there's just some attribution we'll ask. So it's like John said, it's easy to ask. And I've never denied the permission. I don't charge for it either. So, You know, I had a case even where I tell you something. I've seen manufacturers a couple of times use photos that they weren't supposed to use, but in general, I think the manufacturers have been pretty good about stuff like that. And like I said, we usually with a review or things like that, if a retailer or a manufacturer sends us something to review, we'll let them use it. So this ain't a matter, but the attribution is very important to us because that's how again I can sustain a business model, so to speak. So I was a little surprised, and it was like 40 comments, and I just like, God, give me a break. Give me a break. 40 comments. I mean, it was like, and it starts pinging your phone. I mean, you just want to shoot yourself. So finally I found a way to turn off the notifications because I couldn't take it anymore. I mean, it's on and on and on and on and on. And then all these threads start coming. But I didn't learn my lesson. I did say something that's kind of unrelated to Steve's comment, but it's something I do want to talk about on the show tonight. So in this stream of comments, someone brought up, and it wasn't anything bad, but they said, hey, somehow the Chuck Norris rating got brought up on we use on Cigar Coop, and it came from Stogie Geeks, the Fight Chuck Norris for them rating. And it wasn't in a bad way or anything. It somehow just came up in this, and I don't remember how it did. And I made a kind of a comment that I think a few people, I've gotten some comments back on this. I said we are probably retiring the Chuck Norris rating at the end of the year on Cigar Coop, and surprised a lot of people with that. Let me kind of explain that a little. What I'm going to be doing with that. It is the most popular rating, but let me explain a little of the background of that rating. And first of all, I'll make it clear that came from Stogie Geeks. So those ratings were invented by Paul and his team before I came to Stogie Geeks, and we adopted those on Cigar Coop for consistency. Now, just so you know, we weren't asked to remove this when we split off. We still were able to use it. If we were asked to change it, we would have. But we were still using it. The problem is with it is the Stogie Geeks rating and how we were using it on Cigar Coop are two different things. So they're two completely different things that are going on. And let me kind of explain that a little more. We have on Cigar Coop a numerical rating. And the numerical rating assesses a cigar strictly on merit. It's merit-based. So whether the cigar costs $1 or $100, it's scored exactly the same. We don't factor price into that. And I believe the numeric rating is the 1 to 100 rating, or if you want to call it the 80 to 100 rating, whatever. I believe that's always been debated. It's there. We're using it. It makes some sense. So we did that. The Stogie Geeks rating, great rating system. Love it, right? One of the most innovative. I thought it was extremely innovative, and it tied it into purchasing power, as well as how good the cigar is. So there's some great ratings. I mean, I was blessed to even use those ratings. It was fun, but ultimately, those ratings are a little different. Like we started adopting those ratings, putting it alongside the number rating. So the number rating is for merit, and then for the Stogie Geeks rating, which we're still using, it factors in purchasing power. So I looked at it as more of a value type of rating, and I think there's some real value in that. Where ultimately with the value piece, a great example came up last year when I reviewed the $80 Davidoff Royal Robusto. It's an $80 cigar. It scored, I believe, a 93 or 94, and I should remember that, but it was one of those two. But it's an $80 cigar. So, in the Stogie Geeks ratings, we have things from, it kind of goes up a scale. It starts out as lawn mulch, meaning you'll trash it. The Angler, which is kind of something you'll smoke while fishing or whatever, but don't pay much of attention to it. A try one, a fiver, a box split, a box purchase, The Fight, Chuck Norris, and Oasis. All great rating. I love the system. Love the system. The problem is that how I wanted to use that rating alongside the numerical rating wasn't really working the way I wanted it to. In that the value rating, I wanted to be more of a strict value rating. On Stogie Geeks, it was kind of taking the place of value and merit. So I kind of felt in the last year, and in my desire to be more of an industry kind of focus, I think the rating needs to change. So I'm going to implode the whole system on Cigar Coop beginning in December. And look at something more value-based that I think will fit the model that we're doing as far as an industry piece. So the names are going to change. It's the right time to change the names, but more importantly, it will be strictly a value type of rating. Now, what that looks like, I don't know. I haven't determined what that's going to be yet. So, but yeah, we will be changing that. But like I said, I think it works for when we were doing Stogie Geeks. Great rating. I was privileged that when we came on board, we had the right to use it and continue to use it. However, we have to make some changes right now, again, to fit that. So what that value so what you'll see come December when we implement this is there'll be a merit rating and a value rating. Will we have a catchy name like Chuck Norris? I don't know. So right now it's not a teaser. It's being developed. But I mentioned it today. It just kind of came up in that conversation, so to speak, that we will be resetting the ratings come this December, which is when we start the Cigar Coop year. Also, just to let folks know, the Cigar Coop countdown is going to move. Last year we moved it out into mid-December. We'll probably start around December 20th this year. We're going to go with the December 20th countdown going forward. It just gives a little more time to kind of compile the final list. So that will be very exciting when we do that as well. So Will Cooper, I'm in the Sereno Cigar Company studio in North Carolina. I want to talk about these sodas because, it's interesting, these sodas, which I'll kind of talk about if you missed last week's Prime Cuts, what this is about and what we'll do. So kind of starting off, last week, the story goes, I visited a store called Rocket Fizz. And Rocket Fizz I found out it's a chain of stores. There's one in downtown Charlotte, which it's interesting because downtown Charlotte doesn't have much in the way of retail. So if you're like, the person who likes to go to the mall or whatever, there's not much retail in downtown Charlotte. But there's a small little cigar place called Tailored Smoke, and right across they opened up this thing called Rocket Fizz. And being an old school guy, and I'm old school, as folks know. I'm the guy who doesn't want to go in the delivery room. I'm the guy who will take the yellow cab over Uber. I'm the guy who prefer to have an antenna over cable. I mean, that's just, so I'm kind of old school and a lot of things like that. This store was really cool because they had a lot of old candies and old sodas, and a lot of, in addition to old sodas, they had a lot of novelty type sodas. An example, this Rocket Fizz has become like a store for the Cooper family right now. We're just all loving this store. My middle son Peter went there today, and he took care of me. My boy Peter. He's not the one who works in a cigar store. He's my middle-aged son. He's my middle son, 17. He went in there and look at this jumbo size button candy. I mean, this is now. I gotta be honest. I don't remember seeing the jumbo size button candy growing up. I remember they were smaller. And what you would do is with button candy, and I'm not gonna open this because this is his actually. But you peel off the button candy, and you'd eat it. And the trick with this is you could look at the thumbs up going with the button. We may have to give away some button candy. The trick with this is you got to get it so the paper didn't stick to the back of this thing, right? That was always, and I was always eating the paper. But what was really cool was the colors, right? So that blue raspberry was they usually were kind of in this like spectrum, so to speak. There's an orange that isn't coming through the camera, which is kind of looking like it's hidden. Oh, there's the orange. I mean, I'm sorry, the lemon. The lemon isn't coming through the camera. It's kind of getting the light's kind of taken out. But it was like the blue raspberry. That was the shit. That was the stuff you got. And that was the stuff I truly enjoyed with the button candy. So they have things like that in that store. Rocket Fizz. You can go to rocketfizz.com. It's a cool site. Yeah, it's like I don't think you could buy stuff and get it shipped, but it'll tell you where there's a Rocket Fizz. I don't know if you call a store, maybe they can ship to you. But while I was in there, I discovered Farrah Fawcett cream soda. Farrah Fawcett cream soda. And I won't repeat. You can watch last week's Prime Cuts. I kind of did a little homage to Farrah Fawcett. But yeah, don't forget the glue, Pete. Yeah, nothing like eating that blue on there. But this was the iconic poster. This was, forget the Farrah Fawcett. This was a really good cream soda, and we're gonna give a little bit of this away tonight. So you can have, you can have your very own Farrah Fawcett soda, so to speak. So, and we're gonna make you work a little for these sodas. We're not gonna, it's not gonna be easy to win this. So look at the oh, there we go, Farrah. So Farrah, and I got a few of these. So I drank Farrah Fawcett. This was a really good old style cream soda. Not overly sweet, but it had that real the creamy taste to it. You know, a lot of the supermarket cream sodas don't have that creamy taste to it. This was old style cream soda. So packaging aside, which is excellent, really good. Then came the bacon soda. Now, if you watch the show we did with Fred Rui on the primetime show, Lee Majors was cool, and I'll tell you something. We mentioned it last week. We talked about it last week. Lee Majors worked with Farrah, the Charlie's Angels people, to have a clause in the contract so she was home to make him dinner every night. I mean, so guy was a genius. I mean, he was a fall guy. Lee Majors was cool. So, but anyway, bacon soda. Everything's better with bacon. Why I picked up the bacon soda? We did a primetime show, and we had Fred Rui, and I mentioned he's a bacon connoisseur. Check out his T-shirts. They're really cool as far as doing that. So I was intrigued by the bacon soda, so I picked up some bacon soda. And I'm actually going to drink this on the air for the first time. But there isn't just bacon soda. Wait, there's more. We have bacon soda with maple syrup. Look at wow. Bacon soda with maple syrup. I mean, all the fixings. Like, this is the name of the company is called Lester's Fixings, right? I think it's this guy Lester. I think it's just a brand on the Rocket Fizz. But yeah, and by the way, we will be giving away the bacon if you win. If you are selected as a winner, you can pick between the standard bacon soda, or the maple syrup, or get this. I kid you not. Bacon soda with chocolate. Now I haven't tried any of these yet. So what we're gonna do is we are actually this may suck, this soda, but let's kind of give the bacon soda a try on Prime Cuts tonight. Yeah, Bob, those can you say diabetes? Thanks, Bo. I tell you, Fred Rui, man, is long overdue to have a bacon T-shirt with the Nomad logo. So definitely check it out. But there it is. Now, I gotta be honest, Fred wasn't too high on this. He kind of thought I may have crossed the line. It's got this color. It's funny. It's kind of similar color to the sun-grown wrapper. That's kind of what probably drew me to the underground sun-grown, but. I've actually stopped smoking this because I don't want to interfere with that smoke right now. It's a really good cigar. But let's go drink some bacon soda. That's interesting. I don't get bacon. I get a little bit of bacon on the aftertaste. There's kind of like a sweet brown sugar taste to this. It's not an overpowering brown sugar. But if you had a the concept of a finish with this soda, the bacon finishes on the tongue. It is. This is getting. This is good. This is very good. I'm not just saying it. This is very good. And I didn't expect it. So it's kind of like it's got a little bit of that brown sugar that it kind of comes in with. There's not a heavy carbonation on this soda, and then the finish leaves. There's definitely bacon flavor on the finish. So I'm kind of curious with the maple syrup. I'm worried the maple syrup and the chocolate may be a little too sweet. But this is this, we don't have soda ratings yet, but this is very good. This is very good. Very good. I'm more than pleasantly surprised. I would drink this again. It's that good. And the funny thing is, I talked about where I kind of let the cigar kind of fizzle for a bit. I think this. I'm not. Look, I don't recommend pairing a soda with a cigar, but actually, really, really good in terms of this. So, you folks who tuned in here, you will have an opportunity to win bacon soda. I'll have a contest. I'll put the contest up at the end of this, and you have a choice of winning. We'll pick two winners maybe tonight. You can pick either Farrah Fawcett soda or one of the bacon sodas, or if you don't want soda, we will gladly ship you a Cigar Coop Challenge coin. So yeah, you have a choice of either the soda. Now, we're gonna be a couple of things. I'm gonna be putting up some contest rules on Cigar Coop in the next couple of days. Can't ship these things out of the U.S., so I apologize. And given that this is liquid, if it breaks, it breaks. So I mean, I hope it will pack it really good, is what I'll say. I think I could ship, but I can't obviously ship liquids out of the U.S. So, but yeah, we'll be putting some contest rules up on that towards the end. So a little more in the way of some housekeeping. I want to kind of go through the schedule of what's happening on our shows over the next few weeks, because I'm really, really excited about the lineup of guests we have. This is kind of like one of our big months we're having in September. We have a couple of vacant slots still. They're starting to fill them, but we have some. But let me kind of go through the schedule, and you can go to cigar-coop.com/schedule, and you can always look at the schedule there. Let's start off with. Let's start off with special edition. So we'll start off with special edition, because special edition we tend to do. We don't schedule that too far out in advance, but we do. We do that, like, you can't do special edition more than once or twice a month, because it's more of a news magazine format. There's a lot of prep work that goes into special edition. It probably takes 3 times more. I don't want to say it, we have a lot of prep work for the primetime show, but sometimes special edition we really have to dig a little deeper. So but we're going to have plenty of special edition shows. We will have a special edition number 10. Which will be scheduled for this Tuesday, the 29th. Special edition number 10, topic to be determined. But special edition number 11, you're going to want to mark your calendars. We're going to have Terrence Riley of Casada. And we will have the entire primetime team. We're planning on having the whole primetime team on that night. So it will be Aaron and Bear and myself with Terrence. And I think it'll be a great show. I think we'll have a couple of surprises along the way with that show, too. So you're going to want to stay tuned. So, again, And it's all going to be, we'll have the updated schedule on cigar-coop/primetime. /schedule. Cigar-coop/schedule. Let's go through the primetime show, because the primetime show, we are really booked up right now. And we're not having problems getting guests, that's for sure. Tomorrow night, episode 18, Robert Holt, Southern Drawer Cigars. So Robert will make, I've interviewed Robert a few times, but it'll be the first time on prime time. Episode 19, Charlie Minato of Half Wheel. You're not going to want to miss that. I think it's going to be a great show with him. That's going to be on the 31st. Episode 19 on August 31st, Charlie Minato of Half Wheel. Episode 20, September 7th, Tom Lazuka. Great. I've interviewed him as well. Tom is an action-packed interview. It will be a ton of laughs. We'll have a ton of fun, and there's always a lot to talk about with Asylum. I'm sure we're going to do some Detroit sports with Tom that night. So you want to definitely see Tom Lazuka on the 7th on episode 20. Episode 21, September 14th, Willie Herrera, Master Blender, Drew Estate. I've never interviewed Willie before, so we'll have him on there. Episode 22, September 21st, we're going to have Ryan Freeling from a company called Island Lifestyle Importers. They're the Tommy Bahama people, who are making accessories and some cigars. So they're a company, this is Tommy Bahama. They're not a small opera. This is a group that works with Tommy Bahama. So they are really starting to make a footprint in the accessories field in the cigar industry. So you're going to want to check that out. September 28th, we're looking still for guests. We have that determined. I'll jump ahead. Episode 24, October 5th, Enrique Cejas, Matilde Cigars. And he's kind of now taking over the operation on that. And then we'll jump ahead from episode 24 to episode 27. Dirty Fabian Ziegler of Drew Estate will be our guest for that one. And so you'll definitely want to tune in as far as that goes. We even have a couple of shows already. I can't believe we already have some shows booked into November. We actually, which is hard to believe, that we're booking shows out into November right now. But again, we just have a great the team we have that just gets things done. And why I'm stalling is because it wasn't updated on the website. But we have Ram Rodriguez of El Artista Cigars actually is going to be on the 16th of November. So big, and that will be, I think, episode 30, 29 or 30. But so we're going way out, and then in December, you will not want to miss. We'll do what we kind of did this last year, but we'll do it more formal. We'll have the big Cigar Aficionado preview show. If you remember, we kind of experimented with that last year with Stace Berkland, who did that with me, and I've asked Stace to come back to do it with, and I want to get the whole team to do that. We're going to have a blockbuster, like no one, I don't think in the history of cigar media, anyone's done a breakdown of the Cigar Aficionado thing like what we did. So it's a piece of work I'm really proud of that we did. Even though we were totally wrong and completely screwed it up, I think we kind of analyzed the list very, very well. So, okay, heading to the end of this because I've been babbling. Bacon soda gets a big buy. How can you win one of these sodas? This will be a Facebook contest, and it will be open at least for a little bit. We'll keep it open for a couple of days until it slows down. I want to see the most creative, rumor-free, teaser-free post that you can come up with. The post has to tag me, which is or Cigar Coop. So if you tag Cigar Coop on Facebook, and it's got to have # rumor-free and # teaser-free. It has to be a link or a photo in it. So you got to come up with something creative. I'm going to pick, I'll pick 2, and then I'll give people a choice if they want. If I don't, actually, don't worry, no. These are reserved for contests. The Farrah Fawcett soda, or one of the 3 bacon sodas, and I'll let you know what's available once it is. So, contest. I want something rumor-free, teaser-free. It has to be tagged with Cigar Coop, and it has to say # or hashtag rumor-free, hashtag teaser-free. There's no leeway with that one, is what I'll say. So if you just put rumor-free, you lose. If you just put teaser-free, you lose. I would ask it, we're just kind of, it doesn't have to be cigar-related. So cigar-related would be cool, and that will get extra points. But come up with something that's rumor-free. Come up with a creative rumor-free, teaser-free post. And you will have a chance to win. And you also have a choice. If you don't want the soda and you want a challenge coin, Bob's got them. By the way, anyone's put up a picture of a challenge coin, the challenge coin, I love the fact people enjoy them, and that's just for you guys to enjoy. Thank you for putting up the post. I mean, it means a heck of a lot. I try to comment or tag or like every one of those. So, I mean, it means a heck of a lot. So, anyway, got a great, again, thanks for putting up with me so I could test out a little equipment tonight. And this may start to get a little rockier as I do some more of these because of, it's just, it's going to be getting a little more complicated as we introduce more things. We'll do next week I think I'll shoot for next Wednesday. We will brew up, the rumor-free, teaser-free coffee. In this Facebook post, I'll put the rules for the contest up as well. And we may be testing. We may not be in the Sereno Cigar Company studio next week, but in another set in the studio, so to speak. So I want to test out a different set next week. And we always will be in the Sereno Cigar Company studios for primetime and primetime special edition. So definitely, thanks everybody. And have a wonderful night and get those rumor-free, teaser-free posts up. Take care.